In this video, we're going to present information about the numeric menu in the wxMaxima interface. I have a document here with a few examples. For example, if you want to calculate this is just a numerical calculation, but it will give me a symbolic result. Now, if you go for here and say numeric output, then you get this numer equal true option, which basically means give me all the results in numerical. So square root of 2 squared plus 1, instead of being square root of 5, it's going to be 2.23 and so on. Now, if you look at the numeric, this option is on, and if you take it off, then you get this numer false, and then you go back to calculating these values after numer false in a symbolic way. Let's see the next one. It says expect numbers harder to be complex. This one, to tell you the truth, I don't have an idea what it's about. But all I know, if you select that one, it says domain complex, and it will be on all the time right there until you turn it into real. I suppose, I don't know exactly what it is for. Let's get rid of those. And the next one, it says to float. To float basically means convert a result like this one, is square root of 5. I'm going to repeat this calculation, square root of 5, and you go numeric to float. It gives you the numerical float. That's like a single precision number, which is useful for most calculations. But if you wanted a lot of more precision, then you can use what is called a big float. And when you say to big float, the last result, it shows up with the same number of digits, but now include this b to the 0. And that b means a big number. In other words, your number is being stored with double the memory. And that's basically what it is. It's just more precision. To numeric, this I suppose is like when you have like this calculation here, numeric to numeric, just is the same as float. Okay, say big float precision. Now, in many of the examples presented earlier, we obtain numbers that are so close to 0 that basically 0, and they have like 10 to the minus 16. So I suppose this is what it is. It's how small you want your big floats numbers, or how big you want them. And so 16 seems to be a good reasonable value, and we're not going to change that. Say display precision, that has to do with the fact that, for example, if you have this square root numeric, it gives you something like 15, let's say 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, yeah, 15 digits. And if you want to change that, you can go to numeric, set display precision, and suppose that you're going to go fancy and say, oh, I'm going to want 25 numbers. And so when you do this, and then these, it did not do anything, although the printing has been increased to 25. I guess you just go down. So you go numeric, display precision 6 or 5, let's say 5. And then if you try this, this and numeric, it gives you only 5 digits. If you go ahead and set this back to 0, then numerical values go back to 15. We had this thing called engineering format. I never understood this one. We're supposed to be using like formats in which the exponents of 10 go every 3. And so when you do engineering format and then you try this calculation, and it gives you by 10 to the 0. And so everything is like by times 10 to the something. If I multiply this square root by, no, sorry, by 1,000, let's say. So I guess that's engineering, well, that's the symbolic result. And so I give you 10 times to the 3. And if you multiply this by 10,000, the numerical, it gives you, it increases the mantissa, this thing, to 22 to keep the 10 to the 3. Let's try another 0 here and see what happens. 223 times 10 to the 3, but if you multiply by another power of 10 here, then it now goes to 10 to the 6. So for some reason, engineering notation means with exponents in increments of 3. 10 to the 3, 10 to the 6. I guess that has to do with the way that we read thousands and millions and billions and so on. And so that's the engineering format. It's a set of the engineering format. It says minimum absolute value printed, maximum absolute value, maximum number of digits to be displayed 6, and so on. I wouldn't touch that part, but that's what basically the numeric menu has to do with. I will I mentioned that I only use like to float, and say display precision is the one that I have used. Let's get rid of the engineering format, and that way we finish this presentation on the numeric menu.